listening to Strides and Vibes. Whether you're on a long run, a lunch break, or stretching out with your foam roller, welcome to the podcast all about moving better, living healthier, and vibing higher. I'm your host, Mario Buchs, elite running coach, ultra endurance athlete, and founder of Healthetica Coaching, coming to you from the trails, tracks, and streets of Gadigal country in Sydney, Australia. Each episode, I'll bring in guests from all walks, from coaches, athletes to world-class performers, as well as doctors and professionals in their fields, to unpack their stories and explore the mindset shifts, science, and practical strategies that help us go the distance in running and in life. So, lace up, tune in, and let's move towards a better you, one stride at a time. Hello, hello, hello. There's three hellos because there's three people in the call. We've got on my left Andy Hayden, or Andrew Hayden, and James Bland in the middle, and little me on the outside. Not so important. I'm glad to say we've been organizing this for a few weeks. We're talking to a couple of long-distance runners, endurance athletes. They know the mountains, they know the roads, they know the marathons, but we want to know, what is the recovery advantage? So this is the idea of today's podcast. So welcome, Andy, James. Thanks a lot for coming on.
Thank you. Great. Thanks for having us. Looking forward to it.
All right, let's get straight into it. James, I know you the least, so I'm interested. What makes you you, mate? Who are you and what makes you you?
I was thinking about this. I'm a very chill, relaxed guy, but I think it's come from like adversity throughout the years where I was working in supermarkets through a pandemic, and then I got into long distance ultra running. So being coupled with chaos and then running a few 100-mile races, there's not much that really affects me. So I'm just a chill New Zealander that tries hard and always thinks that effort is effort, and doing hard things is the way to get through it all. And that's me.
Excellent. Thanks a lot. Andy, what makes you you?
Yeah, look, I think it probably comes from I was a skinny goalkeeper playing football from the age of 10 up to sort of 18, 20. Took a bit of resilience being in goal in a bad team. So usually getting the blame for things when I was 12 or 14. And look, my dad had a heart attack when I was 21, and I decided to run the London Marathon for charity and sort of never looked back.
Wow. Yeah, I remember you, your first marathon, you had an Isostar bottle or an Isostar shirt,
Right.
which is a big Swiss connection.
Oh, okay, nice. I also had what used to be called a Walkman on the side, and a
Nice.
tape playing the Rocky soundtrack and some headphones. That's how long ago it was.
Mate, you're showing your age.
1995.
This is amazing. This is amazing because I think Isostar is something that's very famous in Switzerland, all over sports and endurance sports and club sports and, team sports and stuff. But I've never seen it abroad. So for the London Marathon back then to be at or have that as a sponsor or something is quite amazing for us little Swiss guys. So you've already mentioned how you got into performance, two really good reasons how you got into endurance sport. But because we're talking about recovery here and we've been running for a long time, when did you guys think recovery might be a little bit of a missing key or a missing element, Andy?
Yeah, good question. So when I started back then, if I'm honest, recovery for me was playing football, going for a run, and then joining everyone else in the pub who was still in the pub after the football match. So my Sunday long run was being squeezed in after the morning football game before I went to the pub. So I'm pretty sure at 21, I think youth allows you a bit less need to focus on recovery. And B, I had no idea what recovery was all about. And, we are talking a long time ago, no internet. I just used to read the odd running magazine on how to train.
Runner's World.
Runner's World, exactly. That was it. That was me. So, yeah, I think it's definitely, obviously, what I do has evolved. What the world tells us we should be doing has evolved. There's a lot more science behind it. And I guess, from what I know, the original ultra runners, not the original ones, the original modern ultra runners being the guys back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, they were drinking gin and having a nip of whiskey, and they thought that was the right thing to do back then, as I understand it. So the world has changed a little bit. But sorry, that's a long answer. I think for me, I think, to be honest, once I started second, third marathon, I started realizing that actually eating crap food, drinking beer all the time, it doesn't really suit. My first marathon was 4 hours 17. I just got round. I loved it. But when I started third or fourth, I was getting to like the 320s. You start realizing there's a performance thing here. You actually have to look after yourself. I actually think my body started telling me that. I didn't read anything. I just started feeling better, eating healthier. So I actually think my body was pretty clever and started going, you got to start doing something a bit different here and fueling a bit differently.
So I hear listening to the body, great. It's like, yeah, I think that's where I started as well. Of course, it's not about my recovery here, but yeah, it's like you listen to the body. I changed my whole nutrition around. I mean, obviously, my story is totally different to yours. Mine was a weight loss journey of 42 kilos. I needed to shift some weight. So obviously running, and then suddenly you eat. Because you start running, you think, hold on, if I keep eating this, I'm not going to get anywhere, So what about you, James? When did you realize maybe looking after the recovery as an extra element would be quite beneficial?
I think it was mainly when I started pushing huge volume because there was just so much social media about numbers. And it was just like 100K weeks aren't good enough anymore. Now it has to be 100-mile weeks. And it was always trying to hit that number. So eventually I was just like, I did it the smart way where I ramped up to that distance kind of thing. But then I just started getting injured and niggles and stupid little things that kind of hurt all the time. And then I had an abductor issue. And it took me out of running for a couple of weeks until one of my friends did a trigger point massage on my leg and it came right. But then I just started foam rolling before every run and then started warming up and then stretching before every run. And then I'd be able to I think I peaked out at like 240 kilometers one week. And everyone's like, how are you pushing these numbers? And I'm just like, are you seeing what I'm doing before and after my run? Like half the time, my stretching protocol and everything else I'm doing is longer than the actual run itself. But luckily at the time, I was working part-time. So I had time to be able to do all these things. And it's just taking the time and effort to actually, listen to your body and uh, find the things that aren't working and really focusing on problems before they actually become severe issues. And because, if you get injured, you're taking months off, not weeks. And then with age, it's just kept going on. So now I'm stretching a lot more. I'm just really focusing in on little things that when I was uh, young, dumb, and full of fast twitch muscle fibers, we could get away at 22 and just start sprinting and start doing 100-mile weeks and it would be nothing, and have beers on the weekend and go run I remember I was drinking cider one night and the next day I was running a sub 90-minute half marathon the next day for a training run. I was just like, it was so simple and so easy. And now I could sniff a beer and be hungover in the morning. So it's just like choosing your battle and really being conscious of the results you're going to get from the decisions you make the day before. So, yeah.
Yeah, running is a lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
In a way, I mean, that's how I had to do it. And I know a lot of other people do it. I mean, running is not your life, but it becomes a lifestyle of, okay, maybe a bit less of this and a bit more of this. And the other nugget there, you're warming up, cooling down, and all the stretches and mobility. Good runners or great runners are made when no one's watching, because that's not on Strava. That won't be on the training platform, whatever you use, So very, very important. So you run with other runners? James, I'll hit you up first. What's the biggest mistake runners make? Not just the ones we've made in the past, but now. What's the biggest mistake runners can make or athletes can make in terms of
I think
recovery and nutrition?
Yeah, I think it's getting caught up in what everyone else is doing. Because there is so much videos and so many products out there and so much branding behind it. And people say you need to take 120 grams an hour and you need to do this, or like 120 grams of carbs an hour and you need to do this and do that. And I think everyone just needs to figure out what works for them. And it is a battle and it does take a while, and it's taken me, and I'm still learning, and I think everyone is still learning in this ever evolving sport where I've been doing it for 7-8 years now, and I'm learning stuff off a podcast every other week, and I'm like trying different things and doing different things. So it's taking everything with a grain of salt and just finding out actually what works for your body and what works for you. Because we're all different, but we're all trying to achieve the same goals. But it's just the way we get to that point is going to be the difference. So just find out what works for you.
Good point. just before I hand the same question over to Andy, I mean, if you've ever heard of the Strides and Vibes podcast, there's a hell of a lot of good information on there. We're unbiased, we're unsponsored, we just love good stuff and good recovery. Andy, what do you think are the dangers out there for too many runners, or too many dangers that they believe in things?
It's the same answer, to be honest. And just some anecdotes from me is that, I run with a bunch of guys in the city at lunchtime. And, this is 10 years ago. I started realizing that, the Monday recovery run was not the right pace for me. Yeah, I'd got into ultra marathons. I'd done a 60K run on a Sunday. Some of these guys hadn't run. And it's like, we're all in and around the same sort of training pace in a way, but actually my Monday needed to look different to them. And I would go out and run with them because it's social. I want to catch up. But yeah, one person's leading the pace. It was not recovery for me. So I had to stop going, or I did, there's blocks of the year when I just wouldn't join them and I'd go and run on my own because it's not the right pace. So there's stuff like that. And I think just what James said, there is so much information out there. It sounds like James is very lucky and has trained like a pro for some years, especially when he's working part-time. But most of the guys I train with work full-time. And I think be careful trying to do what pros do. They get to sleep at lunchtime. They get to have a rub down every day. They have a physio on hand. I don't have any of that. I can't train like them. I can't assume that my body and my recovery and the amount of hours I work are going to allow me to do all those same things. So just, you got to be a bit careful. Obviously we can take tips. We can certainly learn a lot off the best, but we have different lifestyles, and especially when you're throwing kids into the mix and travel and just all these other things. So I think just be wary, and working out what works for you.
I mean, every answer from both of you up to now have been kind of, you need to be mindful of where you are at. You have to be in that moment where you are. Your life is no one else's life, I mean, this is how I don't sell my coaching as such, but this is how my value proposition to someone who says, why should I get a coach? I says, because it's about you and no one else. There's no comparison, no judgment, no nothing. And every answer from both of you up to now have been exactly down that avenue where it's, mate, this works for me. This won't work for me. Monday is my recovery day. Nobody says recovery day means lying on the couch. Recovery means something completely different for someone else. My recovery Monday looks completely different now than it looked 2 or 3 years ago. 2 or 3 years ago, I did nothing on recovery day. Now I squeeze in the stuff I can't do. So your upper body gets a bit looked after. There might be a cold plunge here. In the evening, I might get a sauna or something like that, whatever that is, So that's great advice. For people who are watching this podcast, you can see there's a few purple things knocking around. So I would really like to just not digress, but move along. We're talking about recovery. We've just spoken about there's a lot of noise out there, people, right? And I am not an evangelist of what works, what doesn't work. Everybody who knows me knows I look as the natural nutrition first before I go into something too snazzy and fancy. Currents, obviously something we're all three connected with in one way, shape or other. I've been using them since 2019. So let's give them a shout. Andy?
Yep. Yeah.
What part of the recovery, or where does currents come in terms of recovery and performance for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was sort of given a heads up and put onto them back in 2017. So, nearly 10 years ago now. But yeah, I didn't feel I was missing anything. You don't know what you're missing, right? But somebody said, give these a try, introduced me to the guys, bought a few to try it first. And yeah, it was pretty instant for me. I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not an expert. I did a bit of research, and it's, there's black currants, there's tart cherry juice, there's beetroot. There are a few products that do the same sort of thing, but these were super powerful and very convenient, et cetera, et cetera. I just noticed it straight away. And I tried to, I tried them and I came off them and I did weeks on them and weeks off them. And I really noticed, and there may have been a bit of a placebo in terms of, not taking them. But I generally, when I ran out and went back off them and then went back on them and back off them a few times, I just really noticed the difference. So, and for me, it was absolute, I can't put my finger on the performance aspects. There should be a performance aspect to it. And we can get technical into terms of how that works. But the DOMs after a marathon or after a race or a big race or an ultra or just a really heavy training session, it was so noticeable. It really did. So that was and we're all different and maybe people react differently, but I just was instantly, impressed by the lack of DOMs in my quads, particularly, which were the bits that used to fatigue the worst for me. I'm just like, wow, this is a game changer. This is really making a difference. So, yeah, that's the short of it for me. So, yeah.
Thanks, Andy. And obviously for people out there as well, I've been using it not quite as long, but Andy has been kind of my go-to guy. I've texted him a few times and says, when do you exactly and how would you suggest? And then,
Okay.
you came up with the idea during a longer race, have them every 4 or 6 hours.
Yeah.
Don't just think salt tablets, also think this. I'm like, makes total sense. What currents are made of and what they do in a couple of minutes, people. I just want to hear, we all want to hear from James how he got onto the magic pills.
So for me, it was Tarawera 100-mile race. It's my annual 100-mile race in New Zealand around the lakes of Rotorua. And they had a stand there one year. And then I went up and said, what's this? What's going on? I've seen a few people use them. A few people I follow online overseas. And they're like, hey, give it a shot, see what happens, see if you notice any difference. And then I was one of these guys that ran in the morning and then lifted in the afternoon, then ran again and did the same thing on repeat for essentially 5 or 6 years. And I've really noticed it is the thing with the DOMs where you can't really put it, because we're all doing so much stuff. And if we're sauning and cold plunging and we're eating the right food and we're taking the right amount of magnesium and D3 and this or that, but what is the one thing that really puts endurance to the next level when I take it is the next day I'm not sore. And I'm doing brand new workouts. For the last couple of years, I've just been doing straight volume. So the bottom of my triangle of endurance, I can go up run a 100-mile race tomorrow kind of thing was always there. But it was like the lacking of all the other stuff. And when I go onto new programs, you expect there to be muscle fatigue and different DOMs and you're working different muscles and I'm running up hills doing different things. But then I just started ramping up on current. So I was taking 2 a day. Now I'm taking 4 a day. And then the next day I'm just doing the same workout and I have no muscle fatigue and and it's not because I'm not working hard enough. I always have the quote of effort is effort and you only train as hard as you train. And with all these races so close together, I'm pushing myself at every workout. And then the next day I'm fine. And I'm like, the only thing that I've changed is I've ramped up my training and I've ramped up my current. So it's definitely got a lot to do with muscle fatigue and endurance in the muscle. So it's always just been a go-to for me. And if it wasn't there, I wouldn't know because I've always been taking it. So it's just part of my stack. That's just always been a thing for me. So.
And then for me, what I should mention, I was 43 back in 17. So, I was not, and I'd been running since my early 20s, right? So I was not naturally supposed to be doing any PBs. I'd done everything. I tried every training. This is before Super Shoes came along and gave us a bit of a one-off boost. But yeah. I was able to train better. And I did actually perform when I broke my PBs over 5K, 10K, at 43, having not just taken up running, having been running the same trainings since I was 30, to be honest. So I did have this one-off, geez, I'm actually, I'm able to train harder here. I could go harder, longer. Yeah, so it felt like a game changer to me. I didn't change anything else. Didn't change my training. And, that's got to be one of the things, as with all the recovery stuff, that's helped me go pretty much running well into 48, 49. I'm starting to tail off now a bit at 50, but I never thought I'd still be running pretty competitively at 48, to be honest.
Yeah.
So you're at a disadvantage, Andy, in comparison to me.
Well, I'm just going to start taking 4 a day now.
Andy.
I'm on 2.
Hey?
I got to start taking 4 a day, and maybe I'll be back again. So I haven't tried.
It's the 4 a day. Yeah, but you've got a fast Andy to compare yourself with. I've only got a slow Mario to compare myself with because I hated running in the 20 and when I was younger. So, but I certainly joking aside, I feel stronger, better, recovery. It's the key. It's absolutely key. So, folks, what's currents? For those who don't know, they're a pill made out of probably 83 black currants, New Zealand black currants, specific black currants. So the creator was a scientist, New Zealander, moved to England, Great Britain, where one of the owners lives there. I think they're produced there and so on. But of course, you can look it up on the website. There's websites in New Zealand, Australia, the UK, and America. And all the research papers are on the American website. So I'll link all these 4 websites on the show notes anyway. Yeah. So yeah, thanks for giving us an insight into these magic pills. I couldn't agree more. Definitely for me also has been a game changer. The thing is now, right? I'm just veering off a little bit. It's all about little 1%ers, and I'm a big fan of these 2 words, like many people know. I mean, the question of how well you can recover with all the life stresses that go on. If you don't have an understanding of how your body operates, you have no chance, because we're under stress constantly. A little bit of stress is obviously okay. So how do you see that, James? Stress is there. It doesn't matter if it's the training stress, kids stress, whatever it is, right? We need to find the quality time to recover properly with the right tools.
Yeah. I think for me, running was that thing, and it always has been that thing that alleviates a lot of stress from work and life and everything around you, because there could be physical stress, but the mental stress could also be a lot higher. And I think it's something that gets overlooked in males quite a lot as well, is mental health, men's mental health and everything. And there's a lot of stress behind that, and not having an avenue to alleviate that is a huge problem. And luckily, I just found running, and it became a certain goal of mine. And it was 100K weeks and 100-mile weeks, but it was always something that was kind of there, and being able to pretty consistently, through avenues of being able to just run for ages, and then having the right channels behind me, helping me out with recovery and stuff as well, which really helped. But it's just having an outlet and trying to find that thing that makes you you. What is your why? And always having a goal to strive towards that. And luckily I found that with running, and that was my why. And I had, it's a cool memory for me. I had one of my employers back in the day say, you can't go all in on running. And I'm like, but that's my thing. That's the thing, that everything I do in life has been funneled into this one project. And I don't know if it's a certain mental thing with me, but it's something I need to focus on and always push towards. And if I don't have that mental thing, and she had her career and she had her life and her kids and her family, but I'm like, I don't have that. I have this, and I want to push this, and this is my goal. So I always push stress into an avenue to push towards something else. So it was always kind of worth it, and it was always a thing that helped motivate me towards a thing. And I know it gets hard sometimes where you can't find the motivation, but it's always trying to find that goal and trying to push towards something special that kind of makes you the person you are. Yeah.
Motivation is an emotion, James.
Yeah.
So we always, I always mention that to a lot of people. If you run on motivation, you just go to the gym on the 3rd of January every year, and then that's motivation. And then you go back in on the 11th of January, there's your motivation gone. And then you can go back to the gym because it's bloody empty. So that's just my take on motivation. The why is where we get driven. I mean, we all struggle in the morning. We're going into winter now. Yeah. What's Australian winter? It's still dark in the morning. Yeah, we need a bit of a kick up the backside. So what's your take, Andy, on the stress situation? How do you handle it? Family, job. I know you've got a high-flying job. You run as many miles as you can, of course, per week. What's your take?
Yeah, I mean, a few angles. And look, all of the same stuff as James, to be honest. Purpose is 100% part of it. But for me, I guess I'm so used to people saying to me, I don't know how you find the time to do it. And I sort of always go back, well, no, I choose to find the time to do it. And that's a different thing. So there's always time, right? There's times when it's only 20 minutes, it's only squeezing it in whilst on a call. It's pushing a 2-year-old baby in a pram, but getting out and doing it. So there is 24 hours in a day. We all have the same number of hours in a day. I choose to not go out drinking like I used to. I choose to miss out on other things. But I just, since as long as I can remember, I've prioritized my daily fix of running where I could. If I'm traveling with work and there's a hotel with a treadmill, but I've always got a pair of running shoes in my backpack. I was at a conference the last 2 days, still managed to get a run in. What did it mean? It means I had to get up earlier. I had to go to bed a bit earlier, ideally, but I find time. So I just think, there's people who choose not to prioritize it. That's fine. But don't tell me you haven't got time to do it, because there's time. You just have to give up on something else. It might be alcohol. It might be dinners. But, you know, I'm very used to going to birthday parties and, you know, I'm happily out in a bar till 2 a.m, having not touched a drop of alcohol. I'm still dancing. I'm having as much fun as everyone else, and I'm feeling better for it in the morning, to many people's surprise. But, you know, it gives us our energy. It is a stress release. I guess the tough bit for me is that point where you're getting stressed because you're not training, because something does get in the way, and that's something you've got to learn to live with as well. And we've got, I think, as you get a bit more mature of your running, you realize half the battle is getting to the start line of a race, having done whatever the number is, 80% of training, 90% of the training, not getting stressed because you missed one day. Because actually, if you've done 4 consistent weeks, that one day doesn't kill you. We learn that, right? And we tweak things and go, okay, I had a rest day then. I'll do a bit more on Friday, which was going to be my rest day. So sorry, I'm going on a bit there, but I guess it's about
no, you're absolutely right. No, these are some
dealing
great
with the stress
nuggets.
is about adapting. So if and again, that all comes back to being organized, right? So I look ahead next week and go, oh geez, Tuesday, Wednesday look horrendous from a work point of view. Maybe I've got to tweak my schedule. I'm gonna have to run in the morning on the Tuesday. And guess what? If you get it done in the morning, nothing can get in the way. Whereas, you know, if I plan to go at lunch and someone sticks a meeting in my diary, or something blows up, or client this, or kids are sick, you might miss out. And if you've left it to the evening, there's more things that can go wrong. So I generally sort of said, I'm going to get up, get a run in before I turn my phone on, and life takes over, and actually it's done, and whatever else needs doing comes later. So there's, it's things like that.
Just sets us up for the day. I mean, I love morning runs. I love when I travel. I'm out in a new city. I usually go around the city wherever I am, anywhere in the world, and I choose the restaurant I'm going to go to in the evening if I'm on my own.
Exactly. It's wrecking the restaurants. It's wrecking where you're going to meet someone for a coffee. I mean, 100%.
Exactly.
Look, you can multitask in your runs. You can listen to a podcast. And sorry, the last thing I'll throw in is I actually do my best work out running on my easy runs. I am thinking through problems, and it's not stressful. It's easy thinking. It doesn't spoil my run, but I actually think through life issues and work issues on those easy runs, and with clarity, because you're just in that flow and not looking at emails and other distractions.
I mean, I've got 3 businesses that I'm running and getting off the ground, like mushrooms, plus my day job. And you're absolutely right. You go out and it's kind of, you can solve some problems and you can come up with some really good ideas. I mean, others do it in the shower, others do it when they're on the pot. That's also fine. And we do it when we're out and about running. I've only got one little story. You know, I was at an exhibition a few years ago in Italy, and it was Sunday morning, long run day. You know, we all left at 8 in the hotel. I sat down at 7:30 for breakfast, and the guy opposite me, I think it was our guy from Indonesia, looks at me, so how long did you run this morning? I says, I only got 21 Ks in because we have, he nearly fell off the chair. For him, that was like someone's end goal and I said, sorry, I'm only, I didn't mean it in any way. I just said, I only got 21 in. I wanted to do 25, but I didn't have more time. Plus I'm a slow runner. So anyway, now you just mentioned going to bed early, and all hail to alcohol-free beers, by the way. I love that. Now you can actually still be there and everybody thinks you're having a drink and you feel much better the next morning. Plus my Whoop will tell me if I've done alcohol or not. Sleep. How much do we prioritize sleep? We've quickly brushed on napping for those who can. Andy, sleep?
Massive. Yeah, that's one of my, when you sort of put some questions together, sleep is the one I kept coming back to. I've been prioritizing sleep for 10 years. It's just non-negotiable. I mean, you can't always control it, but I really think it's a really simple one, right? Well, what's the point of spending all this money on products and all this other stuff if you're not controlling sleep, which we can control to a certain degree, at least trying to get it. Of course, neighbors and issues and things happen, but I mean, again, it's consistency, right? And again, it's locking it in. If you're locking in sleep when you can, it doesn't matter if you have a crap night here and there, because you're consistently doing it the right thing 8 times out of 10. The big one for me is alcohol. I don't know when it happened. I can't remember, but there was a point in which I realized I'm not recovering. I think I'm sleeping. I think I'm sleeping well because I'm passed out. That is a very different thing to having good quality sleep. And this is obviously and it's great having watches that give us a bit of a sense now, but I kind of sort of started working that out on myself, particularly red wine. I was like, I just can't cope in the morning. I cannot run. I have got no energy. It's partly the alcohol, but it is the quality of my sleep that is being wrecked by drinking, to be honest. So that's something I've just avoided. And then, thinking about when you eat, thinking about when you have your last coffee, just to try and do that. And I saw like a TED talk about 10 years ago around people planning sort of missions to space and stuff. And there was a few in there that went a bit further before we all had the tech on our watches, but just talking about, it's also about the temperature. And I think the number was 14 degrees, which is hard in Australian summer, but it's also about, it's actually, you sleep better and you recover better when it's quite cold. Like you get warm under a duvet, but actually your room, and I started thinking about, that's interesting. Let's actually think about the temperature of my room if I can control it. And because it's important. Yeah. So,
Dark and cold. Exactly.
Yeah.
Complete darkness is what we need.
It's also going back to, it's what our bodies, I do believe in the sort of the rhythms, right? It's sort of what humans have done for all these years, right? We've actually only had electric lighting for 100 years of the tens of thousands. It's like some of this stuff we forget, right? It's all very new stuff. Phones, 10 years? Like, our bodies are
warm showers since 1930 or 1940.
Yeah,
just imagine.
Right.
Crazy. No, running warm water. Sorry, not warm showers, but running warm water only in the 40s or something.
So I know I'm getting old, but I think there's a lot we know that we forget as well, right? I think the human race is forgetting quite a few things because marketing doesn't, no one makes money out of me sleeping well. Well, I guess the bed companies.
ResMed, though. They're
someone
across
does,
where I live. ResMed. They
Yeah.
live on your sleep. Yeah. You can go and sleep there probably. James, how do you prioritize sleep? I mean, I've just got my nugget for me is always sleep happens in the evening, not in the morning.
Yeah.
Right? That's my take. What's your take?
I'll just start with that. Yeah, that's why you find yourself with your feet and your hands outside your blankets when you wake up at night. It's because your body's trying to cool itself down because you're just too warm. Sleep is number one. It's been, I think, for the last, because I've been, let's use the word in between jobs. Actually, let's use the word, I've been a professional trail runner for the last 2 months. I've been prioritizing sleep for recovery. Because I ran Tarawera 100 mile in February, 6 weeks or 5 weeks later, I ran Ring of Fire 100K and pretty much blew myself out in both of those. And then once I got back to Australia, the week after, I've just been sleeping in as much as possible, essentially. And I think that's been the biggest thing in my recovery because normally I'm so on, and this is coming with the new coaching I've been getting as well, is I'm a dangerous man with a bib. I'm always looking for the next bib and the next race and doing the next thing. So I always come into these events, always half cut, like always injured or always not injured, but not at my full potential. Like I'll have DOMs or I'll have something else or be just a bit wide. And then lately, this training block, and it's one of my first ones where I haven't done anything stupid and I haven't gone and run a 4-hour 50K and I haven't done any other events in between these two races. I've been really focusing on sleep, and I think that's been the biggest difference in what I've been doing lately and the strength that I've had in my training and the ability to actually recover and let your body rest. Just take a minute, because I think so many people are just like, what's the next thing I need to do? A morning run, and I need to go work out and then swim and then bike and then another run, and I need to do all these things and stretch and yoga. And I think that coupled with work and life and stress and kids, and I have to walk the dog and all these things, you're never slowing down. And I think sleeping is the one time you just need to have a break, and maybe you need the extra hour. And the advice I've been given all these times is if I'm falling asleep in the middle of the day, there might be a reason for it, and you need just recovery. So if you're falling asleep at 3 o'clock and you need a nap and you just power through it, maybe your body is telling you something and you should be listening to it. And my partner will listen to this and go, yes, finally, he's listening to me for once. And your body is telling you something. And if you're waking up tired, go back to sleep. You just need more. And you may need to go to bed earlier, and you may need to make other sacrifices. Because back in the day, I was that guy that got up at 4 a.m. I started my supermarket job at 6 a.m. I was up at 4 a.m. I would run for an hour, go to work, finish work, run for another hour, go home and be on repeat. But I would sacrifice the night before. I'd be in bed by 8 p.m. and not be online with my friends and not be out socializing because I had other goals and I was in a different part of my life for that. So I sacrificed one thing for another. But we all have to make those decisions, and sometimes they're hard, and sometimes you don't have a social life because you need to recover because you've got a goal that is more important to you than being out with your friends for an hour at night. So sleep has just been the biggest thing. And I think out of anything, it's the one thing we actually need to prioritize. And if you're going to pull a lever somewhere, you have to pull the one where you get more sleep.
Excellent. Before I go to the next question, thanks a lot, James. I love that. I mean, I'm in bed at 8:30 since many, many years now. The good thing, folks, nothing's live on TV other than State of Origin, right? And maybe the Football World Cup coming up. Everything else is somehow, somewhere, so you can watch it at your own leisure, right? Back in the day, that wasn't possible. You had to stay up if you wanted to not miss the episode of whatever it was that people are watching. I mean, just a little bit on caffeine as well. I'm playing around with it at the moment because I've got a bit of, not time, but my wife's away, so I can kind of go to bed whenever I want and get up and all this kind of stuff. And I've reduced my espresso intake, and it's made a huge difference already. Like, I mean, I only drink in the morning, but I have probably too many. Everybody says 6 espressos every morning is a bit too much. I'm like, okay. And what the effect is on the nervous system, and it's actually quite crazy. My heart rate variability is going up. And since I've gone 50%, not cold turkey, but like 50%, 3 espressos. The last one's at 11 in the morning. That's it. So anyway, my little nugget for you folks, but it's not about what I'm saying. Before we go to the quick fire questions, I've just got one thing that I would like you guys, and we'll start with you, Andy. One thing you would advise people to do from today, what would that be?
Jeez,
There's other runners out there, cyclists, whatever. What would you say?
I've got no idea how to answer that. It could be anything, and without context. But I mean, I think we've already talked a little bit about it. But focus on your why, because when everything else falls apart, that's what keeps you going. And I'm probably in a bit of a transition zone of my why, to be honest, because I'm getting older. Performance isn't what it used to be, and it's not about chasing goals and times, but it's running's what I love doing. So. Yeah, why do I do it? I do it because I love it. So do what you love doing. I'm not really following a training plan at the moment. I'm actually having some chill out time and just getting out and running, which is nice. So yeah, I think you need to come back to the why, because when it's cold and dark and you want to put yourself to bed and you want to get up early, nothing else will hold you truer than the why, right? Whatever the why is. So I do think, and get it right. Don't have a flimsy why, and don't fake a why. You really need to have you got to believe, don't have someone else's why, right? You've got to believe in that why. And you really do. And when the going gets tough and you're in the middle of that race and it's hurting or whatever it is, you're stressed. The why will bring you back on track, I think.
Great point. What about you, James? What would you tell someone to start today or tomorrow?
If it isn't the same answer of having that goal and the why, and I need to do this myself, is believe you can do hard things. And it's Rachel who won Cocodona. She said, "Why not you?" And that was the thing that stuck with me. Why not me?
Yeah.
And I think people, these races are hard, but they're not impossible. And everyone's out here for you to succeed in everything you do. And if they're not, then they shouldn't be around you. But everyone's here for you to succeed, and why not you? You are here to do a thing, and you need to believe in yourself that you can do this thing. Because what is the regret cost of not doing the thing? So I think with myself, and I tell everyone else, because they're like, I don't know if I could run a marathon or I could do 21K, or I'm like, come on, we'll do it tomorrow. Because I believe you can do it, and I know you can do it because I've been there, and I'm in a different part of my journey than you are right now. But you really need to believe that you can do these things, and we can all do these things, and everyone is here to support you in your goals and for you to accomplish these things. So why not you? Just believe and really focus in on yourself and that you can do these things.
All my runners at UTA the night before got the same word in capital letters. Just what you said, believe.
Yeah.
You go to that start line and what Rachel Entrikin says is a cracker. Why not me? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I love that. That is really good. That's it also, it humbles us to say, hey, we're all humans. We all start in the same place. Like you just said, James, someone says, oh, I can't really run a marathon. Who says that? Who says, who's got the right in this world to say you can't run a half marathon or you can't run a marathon? I had a guy in England when I started running telling me, I wouldn't sign up for a half marathon. I don't think you can do one. I'm like, hold my beer. And I had a beer and I gave it to him and I said, hold the bloody thing. Yeah. And I ran back to the hotel just to prove him that day. I just, so anyway, last but not least, let's do some quick fire ones. I'm not going to say sleep or nutrition. The answer is clear. We already said sleep. Yeah. You can do all the right things already. Who's an ice bath guy? Yes or no, Andy?
Yes.
Not regularly. Should do more.
Good. What's the biggest endurance myth?
That you can't do it.
Yeah.
We can all do it, like we just said. That's what we're born. I do think it's what humans were born to do, right? Move long distances over long periods. It's actually what we've done since day one. The myth is that we're supposed to sit in chairs all day. It's not what we were born to do.
Every time I talk to a triathlete, they say 2 of your sports were born to do. That middle one. I don't know. The guy in the cave. I've never seen him with the bike. Anyway, that's just. But if it is,
I wasn't born to swim, buddy.
With the triathlon world,
I was not born to swim.
No, neither.
Haven't seen me swim
either.
All right, last one. Coffee before training.
I'm a no.
For me, that's a yes. Yeah, for me, that's 100% yes.
Yeah, we need to talk caffeine. Too? We need to talk more caffeine. I think I'm a very low. I don't feel the benefit from caffeine, interestingly. I love drinking it socially. Yeah. I drink it, but I actually feel like I don't get a caffeine benefit, and I've played around with it. I've just always had if that's low or high tolerance, whichever way around that is, I don't feel like I see the benefits. Interesting.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
I had
for me, caffeine keeps me awake, but there's no real, I don't feel a buzz and I don't feel...
You know?
And I've heard other runners and they're like, at 2 a.m. I'm going to start my caffeine for UTMB because it's going to carry me through the night and it's going to do these things. I'm like, why don't we I could take 60 milligrams an hour every hour for the entire race, and it would keep me awake, but I wouldn't feel a positive benefit. I would just know I'm awake.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I'd love to delve into that more because I haven't done any research on it and things change, right? I'd love to have another look back on caffeine. I do take caffeine. I mean, don't get me wrong, but I just don't feel I get that much from it, but I still choose it.
I mean, it tastes great, right?
No, don't. I mean, I'm just purely from a performance point of view in terms of caffeine gels versus non-caffeine gels. I've played around in marathons and things, and I haven't actually noticed a difference, but 100% use it on a overnight race to, just to try everything, right? Even if it's 1%.
Do you know, I think if you run a marathon, right, you're running the fastest, you should be able to run for 42.2 Ks.
Yeah.
I wonder if you get an effect from caffeine. That's just me as a non-scientist. But like you just said, the night. So UTMB is a good example, 6 p.m. start. You're going through 2 nights if you're a mere mortal, right? You went into the second night. I ran a race last year. The Elephant Trail starts at 7 p.m. So my ability level, 37 hours out there, 2 nights, 2 full nights. Night 1, caffeine can help. From my little bit of research. Night 2, food is the key to stay awake, apparently. Yeah? So if your nutrition is on par, you can hammer as much caffeine without the nutrition, the food, the real food going in. You can have as much caffeine, it'll still break your race. So, because caffeine is not nutrition, right? Yeah. So anyway, that's just my 2 cents worth. Before I say a huge thank you to both of you, Andy and James, to come on. It was an absolute pleasure meeting you today, James. So for everybody listening in, James and I have never met. It's hopefully not the last time we see each other, or I'll be following you a little bit more closely. You are a bit of a gun. People in the ultra trail and also road ultra in Australia know of Andy Hayden a lot. One of his favorite races opens at 9 a.m. on Monday. So we'll see if his Akubra goes in the ring. Mine is not going in, so I'm giving that spot away to someone. Yeah. I have other things to do. Guys, thank you so much. just an absolute pleasure talking to you guys and learning a lot. So, folks, this is a cracker. Signing
Enjoyed
out.
it. Thank you.
Vibing out.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys. Ta-da. That's it for this episode, folks. As we wrap up, I want to honor the traditional custodians of the land I'm recording on and pay my respects to elders past and present. May we continue to listen, learn, and tread lightly wherever we run. If today's episode sparked something in you, hit that share button, leave a review, or drop a comment on Spotify or YouTube. Every little bit helps keep the momentum going. Or even if you've got a question, feedback, or just want to say hi, I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep moving, stay curious, and never forget, showing up is the hardest and bravest stride of all.